Welcome back. This video was about the second seal. So if you missed the first seal, I highly recommend you go back and watch the first seal. And if you haven't watched the Revelation sign and in-depth study, I recommend you go back and check that out because I talk a little bit about astronomy through the lens of God's Word, because that's what we're looking at all this from, is from that perspective. So check those out, and for those who've already seen them, then let's get into this. We're going to go into Stellarium. I'm going to show you how we're going to follow Jupiter, the man-child, Jesus. We're going to follow that from where we left off, the first seal, and then 3 moon cycles later, it leads right into the second seal. So without any further delay, we'll go into Stellarium and check it out. So we're going to follow Jupiter again. We'll follow it from the first seal to the second seal. And the second seal is only 3 months away. So we're just going to follow it. We'll watch the moon come in. There goes the moon first time. Here comes the moon second time. And here comes the moon the third time. I'm just going to creep in on this hour by hour because a very interesting and rare luminary conjunction, 3 of them. 3 luminaries all at once. This is rare when 3 of them get together. Conjunctions are rare as it is. When you get 3 of them, it's rare. Just like the first seal had a 3-point conjunction with Jupiter coming in over the head, and then the sun coming in, and the moon coming in. We have a similar one here. We have Jupiter and Mars and the moon. Now, even though this is a nice one, it could be the start date, the 18th, but I think it is in 2 more days, and we're going to talk about that later because it's actually a tighter conjunction. But this definitely gets your attention because we have 4 luminaries in this constellation on the rider on a horse, but right here we have 3, which is rare. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead 2 more days, and we have this Jupiter-Mars conjunction, and it is very tight. It's a very tight conjunction, and Saturn here. So this, Mars being red, and the sun's gone. The sun's over way up in here. So we have the no sun. The sun made the rider on the horse bright white in the first seal, but the sun is now gone. It's no longer bright. But Mars came in. Mars is the red planet. Mars is being the enemy. Conjuncted with Jupiter. Mars being red. This is your rider on a red horse. Now details. The conjunction happens over here. The first seal, the conjunction happened over here, right with the bow, because it was given a crown, but it had a bow. In this one, the bow is in his left hand. Over here, the rider on a red horse is given a sword, and over here would be where the sword would be. So the attention to detail here is pretty amazing because it is right over here. And we have Saturn, which you zoom in on a telescope, it looks like the eyeball being the witness. And I just want to quickly take you through the rest of the constellations just to show you that there's not really much going on except for right here in the rider on a horse. We had the moon here, which the moon was just right here with a 3-way conjunction. Mercury here, the water bearer, just 1 luminary in this one. 1 luminary in the fishes, aka the church. 1 luminary in Aries, or the ram, the male lamb. And then you have the bull that's empty. You have the twins, it's empty. The crab is empty. The lion is empty. Virgin is empty. The scales are empty. The scorpion is empty, and we get back to here. So as you see, the action is happening over here, and conjunction at 3 moons after the first seal, we have the second seal. So what was happening here, March 20th? What else was happening in the Earth? The timeline of COVID, had the first human cases in December on the first seal, and then this turned into a pandemic in March. So we go to COVID lockdowns, beginning with the first lockdowns happening in China and Italy in March. Now, another interesting connection is the name of March, the month of March, comes from Martius, the first month of the earliest Roman calendar. It was named after Mars. So there's an interesting connection right here, the Roman god of war. Okay, so we have another connection. And interestingly enough, what's the big deal with March? Well, March is the only other month with the 4 seals, seals 1, 2, 3, and 4. Mars sticks out as the oddball because the other 3 seals happen in December. All the other 3 happen in December, and this one happens to be in March. And then we have this really amazing connection with Mars and March being connected. So it's really amazing. And this is your rider on a red horse with a sword. So we're going to go into some depth and talk about this for a little bit. So let's talk about this for a little bit, and we'll go in a little bit of depth. First, I just want to first read about the second seal. So it's in Revelation chapter 6, verses 3 and 4. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, "Come and see." And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. So that was the King James. I just want to read it in the other version, a New Revised Standard Version. Okay, chapter 6, verse 3 and 4. When he opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature call out, "Come." And out came another horse, bright red. Its rider was permitted to take peace from the earth, so that people would slaughter one another. And he was given a great sword. So that's what the Bible says about the second seal. And what I want to express about these seals is when they open, some may notice right away when they open, and some people may not. It depends where in the world we are, because the Bible is written for the entirety of the entire earth, and so things are happening differently depending on where you live. That is very important, and it took me years to grasp that. And once I understood that, I started to be able to decipher the book of Revelations a lot better, because that was like a missing piece of the puzzle, was just understanding that the Bible is written for the entire earth and not one continent or one country. We have to have like a global mindset. And these seals were global. They were a global event. So that was a big indicator. And so we had the worldwide lockdowns, and Mars is red, making the rider on the horse. That's your red horse. God has these 7. He's chosen to tell the story with the 7 luminaries and the 12 constellations. That's what he's chosen to use. And so when you have that information given to you, then you're thinking on terms like, okay, how would God describe, if he's going to use the stars to describe something, how would he do it? And then by looking at the stars over time, you start to learn a little bit. And then when you see something, you'll get better and better at it. And you'll see it's like, okay, so it makes sense. And I want to say one thing about the first three seals, Saturn is there. And that I find is very important. It could be easily overlooked, but it's very important because it is a slow-moving luminary. It moves once around the 12 constellations in 29 and a half years. And there's three major conjunctions that happen, and that is with Mars and Jupiter. That's a major. Mars and Saturn is also a major, and the greatest is Jupiter and Saturn. That is the greatest. But those three conjunctions are major conjunctions, and what we had there was a major conjunction because we had Mars and Jupiter conjuncting in that constellation, the rider on a horse. And Saturn there witnessing it was like a big wow. And then we back up 2 days on the 18th, you see in the moon there for a three-way light luminary conjunction that really gets my attention. When you're looking at stars, it gets your attention after a while. It's like, woo, this is, wow, you have four luminaries in one constellation. When there's 12 constellations out there, you got four of them in one spot. It's like, okay, there's something happening here. Is there a story being told? Let's decipher. Let's check it out. So look at the dates, see what's going on the Earth, and that's how I was led to check these things out. And then I was like, wow. I was just like, when comparing the Revelation 12 sign or the first seal to this sign, at first glance, you might think that it's not as sensational, but it is a great sign because, in fact, it had one of the great conjunctions in there with the Jupiter and the Mars. And nothing else was happening in the other 12. That's why I wanted to show you. All the action was happening right there. At one point, there was 4 lights in the one constellation. And then it really got a tight conjunction on the 20th. And for people that like numbers, that are into numbers, March is the 3rd month, and then you have the 20th day of 2020. So you have 3 20s in a sense, 20th and 2020. And you can, if you want to play with numbers, it's like 2 times 3 is 6. So then you could do that 2 times 3, 2 times 3, 2 times, and you kind of see you've got the 6 and the 6 and the 6, and that's runs along with this theme of Mars, because it's the one that runs around and it takes almost 666 days. It's the enemy, the dragon, the devil, Satan, whatever you want to call it. It's the enemy, and that's what I see with that. And I could take it a step further, and I would like to, because the way I see it, would like to even suggest that this may be the start of the war in heaven. And I just want to read that. Revelation chapter 12 starts in verse 7. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. I want to repeat that again. Which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. So I wanted to read that because I really do think that it was a war in heaven and war against the saints here, because the lockdowns, it locked down the churches, and we're in a situation where there's a worldwide pandemic. People are frightened. Then they're told they're locked down. They can't go and visit family. They can't even go and visit their friends. They can't even go to church. So this really seems like, in the beginning, to me, I didn't notice it, but later on, when things started to open up, churches were like one of the last things to open, and you could go to many other places, even pubs and bars and stuff like that, were open, and there's churches that were still locked down. To me, I was just like, wow. So I wanted to read Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 to 4. So open it up here. So Matthew 4, verses 1 to 4, because I just want to. This is how I felt in my spirit, and I want to read it and then make some sense of this. Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward and hungered. And when the tempter came to him, he said, If thou be the Son of God, command these stones to be made bread. But he answered and said, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. So we have right there, I know when we were locked down, we could go get food, but we couldn't get our spiritual food from the church. I know we have their word and we can get it from that too, but we're stopped from congregating. And when there's prayer, there is great power in group prayer. And this was kind of like a hindrance. I can't express it any more than how I feel. I just think that this is my opinion, but I think this could be the beginning of the war in heaven and war on the saints here. And I'll read one more. Luke 10, verses 38 to 42. Now it came to pass as they went that he entered into a certain village, and a certain woman named Martha received him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary, which also sat at Jesus' feet and heard his word. But Martha was cumbered about much serving, and came to him and said, Lord, dost thou not care that my sister hath left me to serve alone? Bid her therefore that she help me. And Jesus answered and said unto her, Martha, Martha, thou art careful and troubled about many things, but one thing is needful, and Mary hath chosen that good part, which shall not be taken from her. That was the King James. I just want to read it in the NIV here. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him, and she had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet, listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do all the work myself? Tell her to help me. Martha, Martha, the Lord answered, you are worried and upset about many things, but only one thing is needed. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. I just wanted to read those because it shows Jesus' priority for, like, when it comes to food. He said God's word. You can't live on bread alone, but you need God's word. And then we're talking to Martha. He's saying you want to get your house in order. Mary is choosing to get her house in order in it. She's focused on the Spirit, and I think it's very important that Jesus is focusing and trying to point out that life isn't just the physical. It's not just the physical food. It's not just the physical house in order. He's going in a deeper level, speaking about the Spirit. And that's how I feel about this timeline and this seal and the war on the saints. And we get to the effects of the lockdown. For some people, it was deprivation. It was, for some, solitary confinement because they were all alone. And for a long time, and there's psychological, sociological damages that can come from that, including self-harm, even up to including suicide. And to me, that is part of the peace and the frustration. And then you can have the flip side of it, where it's not deprivation at all, but you are now forced in a situation to have to spend all your time with everyone that is in your household. And if you haven't been getting along with the people in your household, and getting out of the house was imperative to you at the time, well, now you're in a situation where you're in there all the time. And I heard rumors that emergency calls to homes weren't, to the police, they weren't even coming. And I heard that there was even a waiting list a lot of times, and people had to wait days to get seen, and for many domestic stuff. And it sure sounded like peace was taken away from the beginning of this. And as time goes on, these seals and what started will change, because later on that summer there was big rioting, and then there was this big movement of defund the police. And all I could think of when I was at home was like, defund the police? Like, if we don't have police, wouldn't that just be like chaos? Like, that would be peace taken from the earth. So it was a beginning, and then it kind of, things are changed, but definitely everything needs a starting point. And I just feel that these seals that were opened, it was like, this was the beginning of a seed in the ground. It's like, this is the starting point, the beginning of a seed in the ground, and they grow into something bigger, and they can even change. Like, when you look at an acorn, you wouldn't imagine that would grow up into be an oak tree, but wow, it gets big, like a compound interest. And that's how I feel about these seals. They're gonna grow, or like a tiny snowball on the top of a mountain, and it starts to roll, getting bigger and bigger, and the intensity just keeps getting turned up, like the volume on a stereo system. And that's the way I feel about these. And I'm just witnessing. I'm just a witness to these seals in the heavens. I didn't make them. I just was shown them, and I'm a witness to them. And I just proclaiming that these seals are open. We read our Bible. Jesus is coming. Time is short. And that's why I wanted to make these videos. I felt like I have to share this. I have to. And if I didn't know, and someone's out there telling me, I'd want to know. It would help me. It would help me. Let's get out there. Let's tell people. Let's just save a few before he comes. So that's about it for this. The second seal. I just want to thank you for popping by, and I will say God bless you. I love you, and until the next video, I'll try to get it up as soon as possible. The third seal, the rider on a black horse with the scales in his hand. Until next time.